Welcome to our webinar. The topic today is AI corporate sustainability. We do those webinars once per month where we invite experts of a domain, an industry, or a certain trade to talk about AI. The topics are there, their expertise are there. For me, the great thing is I can learn a lot from these expert speakers, and they are here to answer your questions. So my name is Stéphane Monsalier. I'm the CEO and founder of System in Motion. We do AI training, consulting, and integration. But today I'm just a host, as every time in those webinars. So let's go around. I will let the speakers, our guests, introduce themselves. So Anne, if you want to start, can you introduce yourself? And I'm gonna give a twist into the typical introduction by asking the question: how did you get into sustainability?
So thank you, Stéphane, and thank you for inviting me for this webinar. Indeed, both AI and sustainability are two topics close to my heart. So my name is Anne Dumège. I've been created via MBS Factory, which is an ESG, so ESG for environmental, social, and governance, ESG intelligence platform based on AI to extract some clear insights about how brands are delivering and are perceived by all the external people who are online and expressing themselves, and how they perceive these brands based onto their ESG activities. So how did I get into sustainability? Well, I'm a bit like Obelix. I got it a bit as a kid, so that might sound very strange. But what I mean with that is that I got, parents who were very dedicated to nature, etc. So for me, it was just a basic. You live in a world where that you need to. I wouldn't say sustain, because that seems a big world, but that was it. And particularly where I wanted really to, when I realized that business had a role also in driving more sustainability, I think was whenever I lived in Singapore, wherever I did my INSEAD MBA, and I got into an elective at that time where I went in Bangladesh and met Mohamed Yunus, who's the Nobel Peace Prize into 2006. And I really realized that there were ways to, indeed, for businesses to drive and to protect both nature and people in a long-term way, so in a sustainable way. So yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you, Anne. Same question to you, Arnaud. How did you got into sustainability? How did you fall into sustainability?
Yeah, great question, actually. Especially since my life had nothing to do with sustainability. I was more into deep tech, AI. I lived in Silicon Valley. I lived 10 years in Singapore, and we decided to relocate my family in the south of France a few years ago. And I was expecting, honestly, a slower pace and thinking, but I didn't expect to be so touched by nature, actually, and it really impacted me. It's so beautiful that it helped me realize that I was completely detached to the living world, and that triggered my personal journey into sustainability. I wanted to know what it was, what it is, and what it was becoming. And the more I looked, the deeper I looked, the more shocked I was, not only by what I was discovering, and I hope I'm not going to shock anyone, but I was shocked by the inadequacy of the solution and the experts that I was meeting. So I spent a lot of time meeting experts, academics, that I discovered were more preachers than doers. And I come from an entrepreneurial background. So that led me to do what I'm doing today. So basically, I launched an institution where I'm teaching every year 500 executives through what sustainability really is, and what can we do, and what can we dream about, and make sure that we take action. It's not perfect. And my life is now dedicated to embed social and environmental impact within business model. It used to be like a dream 5 years ago, and slowly, we see that it started to resonate.
Thank you, Arnaud. And Zola, so how did you got into sustainability?
Yeah, first, hi everyone, I'm Zola. I'm Chinese. I'm based in Shanghai. So basically, my childhood and my education was surrounded more by buildings and city. Nature to me was like not existent. I think you understand. But now what I'm doing is actually we are really in the sustainability. We put environment and, like Anne said, the people into our business consideration. And how I started actually to think like that is because my career actually started in product marketing in a top French cosmetics company. And for years, we were actually focusing on how to create needs for consumption by encouraging more and more people to buy more things that they didn't need. And along with my role actually getting more and more important in the activities, I signed up for EMBA, executive MBA, and started to think about business at a larger scale. We went to Brazil, we went to Europe, we went to America, and also China. From there, I actually saw how products become products from the extraction of raw materials and then like into production and then delivered into consumers' hand. And which helps me to realize the fixation on profit is not sustainable anymore unless we take people and planet into account. So I started to look at businesses and resources differently and committed myself into ESG and sustainability. And now me and my partner, business partner, focus on combining brand and business strategy with supply chain transition, ESG, carbon assessment, and training to teach people also to get more and more aware about the topic. And with technology as a backbone, we also use a lot of data and AI to turn industry insights into executable actions and measurable impact. So this ultimately convinced me that true wealth is more our resources, actually scarce resources, and productive capacity.
Very interesting to see that two of you had an epiphany from somehow being very unsustainable to becoming sustainable, except you, Anne, who was connected to nature from very early on. So you use the word ESG, Anne, so I'll start in the middle about society. The general wisdom, we hear a lot, we read a lot that AI is full of biases, and that using AI may have a bad impact on society because of these biases that have been integrated into the AI. What is your point of view on this general wisdom?
Well, the short answer is yes, it's true, but the good news is that AI, if ever you know how to use it properly, is also a way to counter this, its own bias. So why am I saying that? Well, that's fun because I was born in the south of France, just like Arnaud, where he discovered nature, and I was for 25 years a marketing expert, managing, strong consumption also for brands. So, but what I want to say is that marketing and also the tools that we use, like AI, can bring the good insights also out. So, of course, you've got the bad insights, and it's true. AI is based on looking at the data from the past. It's only just taking all of the past data and learning from it and just then taking it out. And let's take an example. The last United Nations report says, for example, 9 out of 10 people are gender biased, meaning they consider that business is more for men than for women. I'm not taking any stance about that. It's a fact. So it's what came out from their study. So of course you're going to recognize and you're going to find this bias back into AI. And one of the very, very fun fact examples I sometimes give with a platform I'm using, I was just also prompting and asking, do a CEO from a startup named NBS Factory, and can you picture it and tell me just what it looks like? And of course, the first thing that appeared was a 35 guys not well shaved, in its diesel jeans, and because that's a typical look that people associate with a CEO tech startup. So that's an example. Of course, guys don't realize there is even a bias because they see an image of a guy. Just, of course, because I am the CEO of the NBS Sub Factory, I found that there was a bias. So yes, there are some biases like that in AI, but again, the way to counter it is to, whenever you do, you learn how to use AI, you know about all of those biases which might be existing, and that's why you need, whenever you're prompting, to remember and to highlight even to the AI, to give the AI some tasks saying, do it as a gender neutral, or just make it neutral. Ensure that you're going to just don't allocate specific bias. And also, one thing that's important is that we have negativity bias. So we most of the time remember what's negative, but again, AI can be trained. And that's why, you need to also train yourself just to go against those biases.
Okay, so they exist.
I hope I answered your question. Yeah, they exist, but you can counter them.
They exist, they're very real, but it's not a reason to discard AI completely, and you have to go against them, recognize them, and go against them. Yeah. So thank you for that analysis. Now, Arnaud, another negative aspect of AI. Now we're moving more into the E part of ESG, is the environment and the impact on the environment. So the general wisdom, again, is saying that AI is very bad for the environment. It uses ton of energy and water and all those resources that are limited. Is it true? And should we all stop using AI right now today because it's making the planet into a very bad shape? Yeah.
It's a very important question, actually. And like any of those questions, we need to bring nuance. So you mentioned the general wisdom. It's actually partly true. That's partly valid concern, but it misses, as usual, the bigger picture. So I compiled some data to help the understand what we are talking about. So yes, it's clear. AI consumes energy, water, and critical minerals. We have some data. So according to Google, a single Gemini text query is going to emit 2 breaths of CO2, and is going to consume 0.26 millimeters of earth water. This is 5 drops. What is interesting, though, is over just 12 months, Google has been working on optimizing Gemini, and it reduced emissions already by 33 times and 44 times. I looked as well as Mistral, the French player. A single page of text from Mistral is basically the equivalent of producing a €2 coin, a 2 cent coin. So yes, it's not free. It's not free. And what is different between before and today is the AI players, and I'll talk about it later, are aware of it. But we also need to look at the other side of the coin. And recently there were 2 articles in Nature that I'll be happy to share with the audience that demonstrate that if we use AI practically to optimize the energy consumption, the energy use, the agriculture, even transportation, we could even reduce our emission by 3.2 to 5.4 gigaton. And I'm sorry about the numbers, but basically, as AI is using energy, it might be used to reduce by 10% all our emissions. So the real question is not, is AI good advice for sustainability? But rather, how do we do it? Can it be net positive? And yes, it can be net positive if we start measuring the footprint. So one call that we can make today is say, please, Meta, Facebook, all those, Facebook, Meta is the same, but OpenAI, try to do the same as Mistral and Google. Give us the data. Let's try to apply it to real topics, decarbonation, resource efficiency, and try to avoid falling into the trap of using AI for something that is not really necessary. Mm-hmm. And I can only echo, you've seen what OpenAI wants to do with AI and porn. This is where you start to see, well, is it really where we need it? But to answer your question, not to use AI today due to sustainability concern, let's make sure we are clear on that. It's very close to people in the Victorian era in London that were not taking the train because they thought it was going to injure the brain. You know, we had articles saying that because of the speed and vibration, trains were going to injure the brains. So AI is not perfect, that's for sure. There's tons of issues, but today we have a choice to make. So either we are part of the progress and we try to shape the future of that progress, or we ignore it. But if you choose to ignore it, be mindful that the train has already departed the platform.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I heard the numbers correctly. You said that Gemini are reduced by a factor of 34, so divide by 34, not 34%, right?
No. So divide by 33 the carbon and 44 the water.
That's huge, right?
That's in just 1 year. And yeah. We all know that those AI algorithms are not optimized yet.
Okay, good point. But using AI to generate videos of cats, that's not a very good investment, right? No. All right. Thank you, Arnaud. Zola, I'm going to ask you a question that is a bit more specific, a bit more geographic. So, as you said, you're here in Shanghai, in this beautiful urban city. So China is going strong into the AI race. So is the story the same in China in terms of energy and water, or is there a different story here in the People's Republic of China?
Yeah. I would say China's approach is very Chinese. It's like multifaceted, but led by our government. So we are aiming to balance the rapid growth because it's happening and we need that in AI's computing demand with its our national dual carbon goals. So we have 2030 for the carbon peak, and then 2060 for net zero. And we are really following actually these goals that we gave to ourselves with different governments, like synergy in between different local governments. So they encourage the business actually to innovate, to take the lead for this country to improve itself. So we face here, first, the end game of the compute competition is the power competition. So we face massive energy demand at this second. And for example, this summer, actually, China, we have a monthly electricity use actually broke 1 trillion kilowatt just in 1 month, actually in two consecutive months, July and August, I think. So this represents like a lot of demand for energy use, with AI centers being a key driver. And to meet this challenge, China now is actively shifting our energy mix. So while coal still remains a base load in China, but its dominance is actually waning. It's disappearing. So with one report noting its share dropped actually to a low of 51% in June. So we have only 51% of coal energy in June, and the other ones are clean energy. So meanwhile, we have renewables are really surging at this moment. So now is accounting for nearly 40% of actual electricity generated and representing about 60% of total installed capacity. And additionally, we are optimizing also the grid through projects like Eastern Data, Western Computing, and promoting also efficient technology like liquid cooling. So beyond our domestic transition, as you all know, China is also enabling actually the global one, exporting the new three technology, EVs, lithium-ion batteries, and also solar cells. This is surging to record levels in 2025, underscoring China's role as a core supplier in the clean tech value chain. And through the Belt and Road Initiative, green energy, and there's also hydropower, which is a big investment, are on the record actually at this moment, forming part of largest 6-month engagement to data. So looking ahead, now we are exploring also ultimate energy solutions like nuclear fusion, which is happening actually in Shanghai also. And we have also the first artificial sun named EAST East set a world record actually in January, I think 2025, by sustaining a high temperature plasma for more than 1,000 seconds. So the roadmap is quite clear. The target is like a very industrial prototype by 2030s and commercial use around 2050. And this echoes actually the view of, if you know Jeffrey Sachs, the economist and sustainable development scholar in Harvard, he said China is the only country in the world that can actually guide the path to zero carbon energy for sustainable solutions, for energy and for climate. And the world really needs this. So for me, this clearly reflects actually our core objective is to make growth and decarbonization run in the same direction, using technology as the means, governance as the guardrail, and also the value as our common goal. And this framework guides our approach using AI for grid optimization is the technology, strengthening power market, and disclosure is the governance. And all to deliver actually the ultimate value of the decarbonized, reliable, and also affordable energy system.
So it sounds like China is producing more and more green energy to power AI that will optimize the energy, and it sounds like a virtuous cycle that is established there. Right?
Exactly.
Arnaud, have we seen similar claims from the AI and especially data center providers in the West? Is it real or is it greenwashing? I remember Microsoft saying that some of their data center were carbon negative, and then somebody checked their claim and redid the computation and had to retract it. So, what is the situation for data center and AI in the West?
Yeah. That's a great question. So absolutely, we see AI data providers making sustainable claims. Some of them are credible, and the others will say optimistic storytelling. So, like you said, most of them, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, they have environmental transparency report. Google says that they want to be carbon-free energy 24/7 by 2030. Microsoft not only said that they will be carbon negative and water positive by 2030, but they claim that they are going to remove all historical emissions by 2050. And it's true that according to the report, the data center efficiency, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the power usage effectiveness, the PUE, meaning that the energy I take in, how much is being used by the computers, used to be 2, and now it's close to 1. So it's really getting efficient. So that's somehow the target and what they claim. However, we noted this year that these improvements, they don't offset the growth in demand, like Zola was mentioning. So the AI workloads are growing 5 to 10 times, and we are going to see this year, I think Google already reported that they need to revise the plan that they made. And also, they have been very good at focusing us on carbon, but we need to obviously start talking about the water for cooling, the critical minerals for infrastructure, and the land and solar or wind installations, the land we need for the solar and wind. And also, the dirty secret of all that is when they claim to be carbon neutral, they rely heavily on offsets and non-direct emission reduction. So this is where the greenwashing line starts to blur, and this is why what Europe was trying to do was important. With the EU taxonomy, with the CSRD, we wanted companies to disclose their Scope 3 emissions so that somehow we will expose the green AI. Is it genuine? Is it not? In the US, it's different. The US approach is more market-driven. So if investors care, we'll give them the data. So is it greenwashing? Sometimes, yes. Especially when companies equate renewable energy credits with zero impact and ignore everything that is water and material. But it's fair to say that we are seeing a massive push. And like I've gave some examples on Mistral and Google. Fortunately, they are showing that we are moving from narrative greenwashing to accountability. But the gap is still wide.
Okay. Maybe Arnaud, you use a word that maybe not all our participants are familiar with. You use the word offset. Can you define offset, and can you explain why you somehow discard it?
Well, it's not to be completely discarded, but the idea is we are fully cognizant that some industries won't be net zero. You know, steel industry, cement industry, is going to be very important. It's going to be very hard. So what we do is we allow them somehow to say, okay, so for the portion of CO2 you cannot remove, we allow you to buy credits into projects that themselves are removing CO2.
Mhm.
The easiest one is let's plant trees, you know,
Yeah.
and it started a lot of debate because people were starting to plant trees and not monitoring them, and the forest was dying. So now there was a lot of scandals around this, like any new market. But I'm very confident that the offset market will take off, but it's not going to be for everyone. You know, it's not going to be for everyone. We will start prioritizing industries. Steel, cement, I think, and maybe plastic, they will probably have the best offset because we have no technology today. When it comes to data centers, I think we can probably decarbonize, but it's going to be hard without offsetting. And today, the largest, I don't want to say stupid claims, but it seems to me that the biggest buyer of credit offset in the world that is actually fueling the industry is Microsoft.
Okay. So the idea of offset is how much I pollute, I plant trees, and and I try to balance like the pollution on one side and the greenery on the other side. That's what the offset is,
Yes.
right? And the
Yes,
more
yes,
I pollute, the more trees I need to plant until I've planted trees everywhere on the planet and there's no more room to plant more trees, right?
Somehow, and then you need to prove that the leaf or the tree that you have planted is yours and it's not Exxon's one, huh?
Okay, so you have to make sure that 20 companies don't claim the same tree.
Yes, and this is why today one of the best usage of those carbon offset is to actually start the carbon capture market and say, okay, so enough with trees and ocean. Can we sponsor technology? Can we get technology to really get this carbon with all the fear that is going to create, obviously?
Yeah. And somehow it's the same thing with green energy. Like, are we sure that 10 companies are not claiming the same energy that is green energy, or there's also this debate there? Yeah. So,
absolutely.
So Anne, it seems like all these companies are under scrutiny, and that sometimes a company may genuinely be sustainable. They may genuinely want to improve their impact on the environment, but then they are still being seen as greenwashing. You know, do you have cases? Have you seen that with some companies?
Yeah, well, sure. And actually, there is in Europe, I think there is just one heavy regulation, just really considering that greenwashing is actually misleading consumer, and some big companies can be fined for that. Decathlon was fined, L'Oreal was fined. You know, so now greenwashing is definitely considered as misleading people. So maybe there should be even bigger fine so that the business is really just, taking that into account and avoiding greenwashing. And that's where I think AI and the capability of measuring millions and millions of data be for measuring the environmental aspect of things, but also measuring, and that's what NBS Factory is doing, measuring the impact on the reputation for a brand is critical, and it's becoming even more critical for all of these brands and this company. And so I had an example about, for example, we worked with IKEA. IKEA is well known, to well, being considered quite a sustainable brand. They're doing quite a lot, not just to offset, but actually to decrease also their carbon footprint, just by managing themselves some of the forest they're using, because they've got wood furnitures, and also the water consumption. They're also driving just the transportation in a more ecological way, etc. However, last year, for example, they had there was a massive how do you call that? Just a massive movie documentary on TV, claiming that they were really unsustainable, and that was, say that was very bad from themselves. But then that's where, when you look at the data, it's very important. In terms of the perception, what we looked at is how the perception about this documentary and what it did to their own reputation did. And what's interesting and what's important is that, again, I mentioned the negativity bias. We retain most of the time the things which are negative. That's human. Our human brain is done like that. So coming back to the data and the millions of data points you can measure is important. And of course, initially, when the documentary went out, there was a super big bad buzz, huge bad buzz. And you saw it too, because AI is providing this. You can have some sentiment analysis automated, and you see the proportion of negative versus positive. But then very, very soon what we saw, and remember one thing, bad buzz is also buzz. And a brand is also able and capable to react in a positive way, actually, against the bad buzz. And what was fantastic about IKEA is that there were even some consumers, people, partners who came out and said, but that's not true, that's not fair. And, so this buzz created positive, and actually we saw positive comments that they could then use in their own argumentation afterwards to go this, because we saw what was the engaging topics, etc. So yes, greenwashing is there. The mentions about greenwashing has been, it's multiplied by 4 within the last years. So, there are more and more people who are independent people looking at that. And there are some watchdogs in every countries. So that's why it's very, very important for the companies to first have a diagnostic, look at the data, have a real measurement, and also just get the real-time monitoring so that they know what people think, they know what are the topics who are positively engaging, and also, let's be honest, what are the topics where they still need to work on and sometimes shut up. Because that's definitely not going to be actively, getting some traction for them. So it's not lying, it's also being aware about what needs to be done and what they need to work on. And typically, IKEA is just an example of these brands doing it like that. Just to make you think, and just, why actually I built NBS Factory, just to make people remember the name. NBS means the no bullshit factory. So that's exactly about that. We wanted to use AI and data to extract these measurements and just give a true perception, but quantified, in order to see what's considered greenwashing, what the brands need to know, and how they can work about it.
So if I understand what you said, so greenwashing as a kind of official definition that is misleading consumers and misrepresenting what's happening really. But even if there is no greenwashing and everything is done properly, there is still a reputation risk where this greenwashing concept can be abused and turned against a brand like IKEA.
Yeah, exactly.
So Zola, you were also in marketing and still are a marketing person. So what advice you would give to a company to integrate ESG into their communication, building up on what Anne has just shared?
Well, first, yes, I couldn't agree more with what Anne was saying, both as marketing person and to continue in what IKEA is doing. Actually, if you go to IKEA store right now, you can see they have also the recycle department, which help you to refurbish actually your product and then resell to people in need. And also, if you drive a car to go there from very far, you can already see the signature telling you that if you drive a car, you are emitting how much carbon. If you take the bus or public transportation, it's less carbon. So this, I thought, is actually using data and transparency to help educating our consumers to make better, to make buying choices with better conscious. So this, I think, is very important actually in the communication, incorporating ESG concept into the branding message. And for the brands, my core advice will be choose first. Then you think about your storytelling. So first, to have the truth, you must to have a solid foundation of your data and your facts. No one can claim that they are net zero today, no business, because if they say that, they're just like maybe saying offsetting, or maybe like telling you the story about their scope 1 and scope 2. Just to clarify a little bit, scope 1 means like the energy, the emission that you have in your production process. Scope 2 is the energy that you pursued in your production and everything. And scope 3 is about the consumption and the suppliers. So basically, if your consumers are using your car, their emission is your emission, and your suppliers' emission are always your emission as well. And so this is data and facts that you need to have, and it will help you to define the boundaries of your claims in terms of scope, in terms of baseline or like timeline. And also to quantify key metrics like what's the biggest emission factors in your factory. That can be energy, can be water and everything. And also align with recognized reporting standards depending on which market that you are going in. Now it's like Europe who's having the actually the highest requirements in terms of carbon emission. And China is like also like running behind, trying to catch. And also, yeah, second, we need to provide also evidence through third-party audits to strict regulations like what we mentioned, CSRD, energy efficiency directive, the things like this, to build credibility. And this actually significantly reduces the risk of honest claims being perceived by people as greenwashing. And furthermore, we need to be frank about the complexity. We can say that we cannot do it at this moment, but we put a timeline. What we are working on at this moment is very important, and we are aiming to do to become net zero in 2030, 2050. This is important as well, to put this in the core of our strategy rather than just like trying to say something when people mentioned. And clearly, we need to also clearly distinguish between annual renewable energy matching and the more rigorous, like 24/7 carbon-free energy supply. This is the differences. So while celebrating the achievements, the transparency is always at the top. Very, very, very important. We need to disclose our consumption, and finally avoid absolute and potentially controversial phrasing. This is we don't want to see. Consumers, they start to understand as well with today's transparency on social media and everything. So the good message architecture, I think it's like a core claim supported by data, supported by truth, and then like explanation of methodology and verification to help our consumers to understand more and as well, and also a forward-looking roadmap with a timeline. So I have also a case study, not IKEA per se, but Apple. In 2023, they have released their TVC, Mother Nature. I don't know if you guys have seen it. So that was really creative. They give you the truth. They tell you that we are trying to cut back a little bit here, a little bit there. Also, they are saying we are also planting trees. No, forests, not trees. They use the word forests.
Forest.
Yeah, so they tell you it's hard, but we are doing it. And presenting its climate data and goals, in a very engaging narrative, but also like it highlights their challenges. So this is important to tell people transparently. And it simplifies it kind of simplified complex realities as well for people to understand more. But also, it's a process. Finally, they removed quietly the carbon neutral label for some of their products because it's not, but it's a process. It's a good way to step up. And also, if I don't know if you are aware of the biggest kind of scam in China, which just happened in Arc'teryx, I think it's the brand name. Yeah.
Yes.
So they collaborate with an artist to do a not firecrackers, but fireworks on Himalaya, which is very fragile in terms of its environmental environment. And so as a very high-end outdoor brand under Anta Sports, who is claiming themselves to be a leader in China in ESG, architects was doing things which is completely against their core value, which is reverence for nature. And in pursuit of a steep growth curve, Anta actually recently, why it happened, Anta hired a new team with background in luxury, not background in outdoor. They don't understand who's their audience, what they are looking for, and the loyalty that they have, the emotional link they have with the brand. They are just looking for buzz. And this one, I assume, and I'm pretty sure there's no positive feedback. There's only negative ones. So this team, they don't understand. That's the problem. While Anta was posting 10 years their ESG reports, the team they hired was not trained. They don't understand the core. So it's very important also for these companies who wants to do sustainability to train their employees, to train the decision-making people who are doing their marketing, who are creating this buzz for this brand, to take actually in their head, on the top of their mind, what's the core strategy of the brand itself, and not just do half. And I think this is ringing a big bell also for brands in China and also maybe globally who wants to step into the ESG.
Yeah. Thank you, Zola, for this illustration. So what I get from your explanation is that you need to speak to the customer's intelligence. Tell them that it's not easy, be frank about it, but at the core, it must be true and it must rely on fact, be audited, proven by a third party, and don't hire a marketing agency that don't understand the DNA of the company. Yeah, that sounds like a good advice. Yeah. Now going back to AI. Arnaud, as a sustainability consultant, I guess I think that you use AI in your consulting work. What's the best way you use AI? Where AI saves you most of the time in your consulting work? Yeah.
Well, actually, to be honest, is as the conclusion that the discussion you had with Zola, this is how AI changed my life. I'm using it as a thinking companion. It's really expanding my capacity. I mentioned to you the frustration I had with the experts that were focused, on their silo. AI opened up. And today, in my teaching with my partners set up in France or SMU in Singapore or with my club customers, I use AI in 3 different ways. The first one is through what I call the sustainability compass. So that's a tool I built that helps me understand what a company is doing in terms of sustainability. How do they embed sustainability decisions within their strategy? So that's an all AI tool that is building static report that is helping me to design my classes, if you want. The second thing that I'm using every day is called VelaDB. And VelaDB was born out of the frustration of building the sustainability compass. So you can imagine that as an academic, I had 180 questions to provide each company, and I was using ChatGPT and NotebookLM like everyone. But despite the promise, I was very surprised. It simply didn't work. There's too many hallucinations. It was hard to get consistent and explainable answers. And every time I did a new company, I had to build a new UI, and also I'm an SME, the cost starting to be super high. So by starting to talk to friends, I realized I was not alone. a lot of people were starting to struggle with a lot of unstructured data, ESG report, board statements, media narrative, marketing claims, cybersecurity, you name it. And I asked a good friend of mine that is a true guru in AI and enterprise software. I was lucky that it was available at the time. He has built products for thousands of users, millions of users, including IKEA. And we built VelaDB today. So we are using it to turn all this noise into, I call that explainable intelligence. And I can start having precise questions like, okay, which commitments in this company is signaling intent versus greenwashing? And the beauty of it, it's not only giving you the insight, but it gives you an app. And I'm talking about addressing, for one client, we do 1,200 companies with 200 dimensions. So that's really changing my life. And the third one is more kind of a personal one, is I built my own doppelganger. So I built a digital version of myself. I trained with my lectures, my writing, my project, my personality profile, my DNA profile, whatever. And I'm learning to use it for important meetings, for diet, for exercise. I'm trying to train myself to use it not to automate, but to augment, because I'm telling to all my customers, don't try to adapt your process to AI. You absolutely need to rethink entirely how you go to the outcome. So I'm doing it also for myself, so that's how I use it every single day.
Okay, good. So is it you or your AI today?
It's my AI.
Okay. And same question, how do you use AI in your consulting work, in your reputation work?
Yeah, well, just what I find amazing, just what I was saying is that AI is allowing you, it's putting this capacity, this analysis capacity and measuring capacity just to like thousands times what I would be able to do on a single basis, whenever I look at all of the millions of conversations just happening worldwide regarding one brand, well, AI can help me do that. Definitely, I wouldn't be able to do it myself, or it would take me just like a lot of time. When, it's also trained to give you the positive and the negative sentiment compared to specific to all of the languages. We've got it's like 76 different languages that are being just into the platform. There is also an impact about sometimes culture. So everything is used, and AI can be used, running, having all of these capabilities, and as a single human, I wouldn't be able to do it. And finally, there is this capability of summarizing in a very simplified way and in a very synthetic way, just to ensure that actually what the millions of data points that you get are summarized in like 3 or 4 key bullet points. And that's rare and precious. I always say less is more, but that's also how AI can, whenever it's well used, whenever, I needed to be trained as well, just to be able just to go through this step by step. And I think this is mandatory. Of course, so as in any tools, you need to know how it works to be able to use it in a proper way. So, but yes, that's how I use it, just for its just analytical, massive capability and ability to really summarize key points and bring the big insights.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Anne. We don't have any question. We have a few comments, but no questions. So I'll continue unless there are questions in the chat. So Zola, where do you see the best use case of AI? Where AI can help in sustainability?
First, we have the computer vision, which is like learning much quicker than people, so it can really help on waste management and sorting actually waste into a new energy for recycling. And second, also like the predictability that AI has is much more accurate than human. So it can help in the like supplies or like even in traffic. So in Beijing, they are already doing it, like to predict actually how when the cars can avoid actually to spend too much time and also energy on the road to create too much carbon emission wasted. And in our job, daily consulting job, we use it also to help us to measure the GHG footprint because we are mostly in supply chain scope 3. So it's very complex. Maybe one product you can have like thousands of suppliers. So it really helps us to calculate and to include the emissions from the entire value chain, including suppliers and consumption. So traditionally, we are ingesting quality data from hundreds or thousands of suppliers in a massive challenge, and AI can automate that. So this is really helping us on that. And then also build a sustainable supply chain. AI can act as a powerful risk scanning tool to identify exposure to climate, social, and governance risks. So it can help us to build a chart to identify your risks and your opportunities very quickly. And finally, it helps us also in circular economy in the design stage and also like the usage stage, and finally into the recycle and or where it go. It helps us to transform quickly from a linear. It's never quick, but quicker than how human do it, from a linear to a circular model. Yeah.
Okay. Is AI solving the biggest the sustainability issue, or are these the biggest problem that we have today?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, but ultimately, myself, I believe the greatest challenge actually today is how human beings understand the climate challenge that we have. And they need to actually rethink about their business model with a different mindset, not the fast profit one, but what I mentioned, to incorporate actually people and planet into the business decision making along with profit. So the real task is actually to break this model that has been in this market for a long time already, which is really not easy for people to think in a different way, to change completely and make growth and development inherently sustainable. So we need to redefine actually wealth in another way. It's not gold or currency, but it's our resources, which is like facing scarcity right now. It's like clean water, our clean water, the carbon-free electricity, grid flexibility, and biodiversity is a very important topic also into this. So this requires more revolution in thinking.
Yeah. So AI is here today and is used more for like optimization, speeding up stuff. Actually, it kind of goes very nicely with the question that Stefan asked in the chat. He's saying that using AI will bring opportunity of productivity improvement, but if the company is not sustainable and they use AI, they will do more of the bad stuff faster. Do you have examples of? Do you have an example of a company that have already used AI to change its operation model, to change the fundamental of the business, somehow do what Zola was talking about? Are there any companies that come to mind who are really thinking this way into a deep transformation of their operating model?
Oh, sorry. I have a few companies that are starting to create center of excellence to kind of redesign processes, not at scale. And I let Anne, but I echo what Zola was saying. I think the biggest problem that AI can solve at the moment, and we are seeing it in the usage of ChatGPT, is the mental health of people. Most 70% of the usage of ChatGPT with people is actually to help on a mental health point of view. And I'm one of the one who is arguing that the sustainability issues we have is actually due to our lack of mental health. And we are always discovering new needs that are being pushed to us by marketing people, whereas we could fix it. And it seems that AI is more and more used in this way, which is also troubling because it's leading to edge cases.
Okay. Anne, do you have another answer or examples of company?
Yeah, just well, for example, just to echo first, starting to echo what's becoming more and more perceived as critical for companies is the management of natural resources. So that's why, I mean, and I see that, you know, we've analyzed, again, just the millions of data, just all of the main business categories worldwide. The most engaging topic, bringing the most positive attraction for people in general is the topic about how to manage resources. Because in business, tomorrow, they don't have just whatever is needed to produce aluminium. And I've got, you know, there was just a customer we had in Switzerland, just who's an aluminium provider for other big companies. So they realize that they might be short term, you know, not tomorrow, but pretty soon, if the production capacity is still increasing, they're going to run out of material. As simple as that. So that's how they started, just look at their internal processes, trying to recycle more and more, being more mindful, also just bringing their customers in, because of course, you know, it's as Zola was explaining, it's part of a Scope 3. It's a B2B company. So just they sell the aluminium and of course it's being used somewhere else. So how do they, you know, extract and convince also their users to do that? So, you know, and their customers to better recycle as well, just so that they can reuse the basic material was critical. And that's really definitely, so that's one example, just a very big aluminium supplier who used all of this data just to start improving their recycling capacity.
Okay, and Zola, do you have an example of a company using AI to transform themselves the way you were describing before?
Actually, I don't know if you guys are heard of Lighthouse project. Lighthouse, it's like there's lights out and lighthouse project, and lights out means like robots making products in the dark, but then lighthouse project is like using industrial 4.0 tech like AI or IoT at scale, actually to achieve major measurable gains in both productivity and sustainability. And last year 2024, 70% of the lighthouse are in China, in Chinese factories. So we are really the leader in this space. We have CATL, the battery giant. We have even like beer brands and everything, which wins the Lighthouse house project. And these are really happening right now. So I think this is something will happen soon in the future for other brands as well, other factories, since it's already in the mature stage.
Oh, interesting. If you can send us the link to Lighthouse where it's referred, I think I can include it in the email that we're going to send to the participant. That sounds like a very interesting concept. So Arnaud, Anne, Zola, thank you very much for all these insights and this very interesting discussion. I learned a lot, so I think the participants also have learned a lot from you. I understand that it's just maybe the beginning of the fight or the middle, but the beginning of the middle or the end of the beginning. There's still a lot to do, and we need you, and we need your energy and your advice to go and continue. That's the end of our webinar, our AI Leadership Forum. Next month will be on the law. So AI and the law, that will be on November 27th. If you want to be invited to this webinar, subscribe to our newsletter and you will get the link to register. Have a great day. Switch off the lights and save resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.